Beloved, there is an ancient wealth formula, so simple, yet so powerful, that when embraced, it transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary testimonies of abundance. This formula has been whispered through the ages, carried in sacred texts, lived out in the victories of countless souls, and still it stands unshaken, unbroken, alive with divine energy. The formula begins with this eternal truth: wealth is not luck. Wealth is law. Just as gravity pulls the apple to the ground, so too the law of wealth pulls prosperity into the lives of those who align themselves with it. When you tune your thoughts, your words, and your imagination to the frequency of abundance, the universe has no choice but to respond. The power rests in your spoken word. Every affirmation you release carries creative force. When you declare, "I am aligned with divine wealth," you do not beg, you do not hope, you command. Your words are seeds, and those seeds, planted in the fertile soil of faith, must bring forth their harvest. Speak not of lack, for lack cannot coexist with abundance. Let your tongue be the instrument of increase, not decrease. And what of gratitude? Gratitude is the golden oil that keeps the gears of the formula turning. When you thank the source for what you have now, even before your desires appear, you activate a law so ancient that it cannot fail. Gratitude transforms little into much, fear into faith, doubt into certainty. Imagination is the workshop of wealth. Picture your desired good with clarity. See yourself already clothed in success, already walking in abundance, already dwelling in prosperity. Hold that vision, and like a magnet, it will draw the right people, opportunities, and resources into your path. But beware, fear is the thief that robs the formula of its power. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It whispers lies, telling you that you are unworthy or that success is for others, not for you. Replace fear with expectancy, and you will discover that the universe delivers exactly what you anticipate. Expect miracles, and miracles will show up. And never forget, giving is the secret key that multiplies wealth. The formula decrees, what you give, you receive multiplied. Give with joy, give with love, give knowing that you are a channel through which prosperity flows. As rivers must flow or they stagnate, so must wealth flow through you to remain alive. Patience, too, has its place. Divine timing is never late, never early. It arrives precisely when your spirit and your circumstances are prepared to receive. Trust that every delay is a setup for an even greater demonstration of wealth. Within you lies intuition, your inner compass. It whispers, nudges, and directs you to opportunities unseen by the ordinary eye. Follow its guidance, for it is the voice of divine wealth leading you into green pastures. And finally, action seals the formula, for the formula is not theory, it is practice. Vision without action is fantasy, but vision with inspired action is destiny fulfilled. So today, stand tall, speak wealth. Imagine wealth, expect wealth, give wealth, act in wealth, for this ancient formula, untouched by time, unchanged by circumstance, still works, yesterday, today, and forevermore. And as you align yourself with it, wealth will not only flow to you, but through you, blessing every life you touch. Wealth is not created by chance, but by alignment with divine law. The world often teaches us to believe that wealth belongs to the lucky few, to those who stumble upon opportunity, or to those born into privilege. Yet true wealth, lasting wealth, is not governed by luck nor by chance. It is governed by a higher order, a spiritual law as sure and as constant as the rising of the sun. Just as the farmer does not scatter seed at random, hoping blindly for a harvest, but instead tills the ground, plants with intention, waters with care, and trusts the laws of nature to bring increase, so must we understand that the law of wealth operates by principle, not accident. Those who prosper are not merely fortunate. They are aligned with the invisible laws that govern abundance. To align with divine law is to recognize that everything in the universe flows from an intelligent order. Prosperity is not a matter of grabbing, grasping, or struggling. It is a matter of attuning oneself to the rhythm of that order. Just as a musician tunes their instrument to harmonize with the orchestra, so must the individual tune their thoughts, words, and actions to the vibration of abundance. When the heart is filled with fear, doubt, and limitation, it is like a radio tuned to the wrong frequency. Static is all that can be received. But when the heart is filled with faith, expectancy, and gratitude, the frequency changes and suddenly wealth begins to flow, because the individual has aligned themselves with the divine broadcast of prosperity. Wealth is not random, nor is it withheld by a capricious universe. The universe is generous beyond measure. It offers in abundance the raw material of life, ideas, opportunities, connections, resources. But the individual must be willing to receive, and receiving is only possible when alignment is present. Alignment means believing in the possibility of wealth even before it shows up. It means holding to the vision when the outer world seems barren. It means declaring abundance when circumstances declare lack. For divine law responds not to appearances but to faith. This is why two people can walk the same path, face the same conditions, and yet produce radically different outcomes. One may complain of scarcity, and scarcity continues to dominate their life. The other may speak of abundance, act with expectancy, and wealth flows to them in surprising and miraculous ways. The difference is alignment. Divine law cannot fail. It is as reliable as the tide, as dependable as gravity. The only variable is whether one is aligned with it or resisting it. Consider the seed again. A seed planted in fertile ground under the care of natural law must produce after its kind. If an apple seed is planted, it does not by chance produce oranges. The law determines the outcome. In the same way, when thoughts of wealth, gratitude, and prosperity are planted in the soil of the subconscious mind and nurtured with faith, speech, and action, the harvest must be wealth. The law allows no other possibility. To expect otherwise is to expect the law of gravity to fail or the sun to cease its rising. Wealth, then, is not something to be chased, but something to be realized. It already exists, as surely as the air we breathe and the water that flows in rivers. It is ever present, awaiting only recognition. Those who recognize it draw it forth. Those who deny it block it from their lives. Alignment with divine law is the key that opens the floodgates, for wealth is not a privilege, it is a principle. The one who aligns is never at the mercy of chance, for chance has no power in the face of law. Therefore, to live in wealth is not to gamble with fate, but to stand firmly in the knowledge that abundance is your natural inheritance. It is to speak words of life, to see visions of prosperity, to give generously, and to expect without wavering. This is the ancient truth. Wealth does not appear by accident. It appears by alignment, and once alignment is established, wealth must flow, for divine law has decreed it so. The spoken word shapes reality. Words are not idle sounds that vanish into the air without consequence. They are living forces, containers of energy, carriers of intention, and builders of destiny. From the very beginning, the universe itself was called into being by the power of the spoken word. The ancient truth declares that light appeared when it was spoken, order emerged out of chaos when it was declared, and life itself began when words were uttered. In the same way, every individual wields a creative force each time they open their mouth and speak. To speak is not merely to communicate, it is to command. It is to issue decrees that the unseen world obeys, and to set into motion forces that shape the visible world around us. When you speak, you are shaping your tomorrow. Every phrase, every affirmation, every confession of faith, or every declaration of fear becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. And just as the soil does not discriminate between wheat or weeds, but produces whatever is sown, so the subconscious does not argue with your words. It accepts them as commands, impresses them upon your inner being, and sets in motion circumstances, ideas, and opportunities that match the pattern of your speech. This is why those who constantly declare lack, struggle, and defeat find themselves living in those very conditions. Their words have created the atmosphere of their lives. On the other hand, those who declare abundance, victory, and possibility, even in the face of difficulty, eventually walk into the reality of what they have spoken, because their words have built a path for their feet to walk upon. The spoken word is magnetic. It draws to itself conditions in harmony with its vibration. If one says, "I can never get ahead," the unseen forces conspire to fulfill that declaration. Opportunities are missed, doors seem to close, and wealth slips away because the magnet of the word has drawn lack. But if one dares to say, "Everything I need comes to me at the right time, in the right way," then doors open, ideas flow, and supply begins to appear. It may not happen overnight, but the law cannot fail, for the word shapes reality as surely as the potter shapes the clay. Many underestimate the power of their daily conversations. They speak casually of problems, rehearsing them again and again, unaware that every repetition reinforces the condition. The more energy given to negative words, the deeper the groove they cut into the subconscious. And soon, without even realizing it, the individual becomes imprisoned by their own speech. But when words are chosen with awareness and spoken with authority, they become tools of liberation. They carve new channels in the mind, new tracks for thought to run on, and as thought shifts, reality reshapes itself to mirror the new pattern. This is why affirmations are not idle exercises, but spiritual decrees. When you affirm wealth, health, and success, you are not pretending. You are not engaging in fantasy. You are proclaiming a reality that exists in the unseen and calling it into the seen. The unseen world always precedes the visible world, just as the blueprint comes before the building. When you speak, you are declaring the blueprint of your life. Speak with authority, and the invisible begins to solidify into form. The spoken word carries vibration, and vibration governs manifestation. Words of faith vibrate at the frequency of abundance and call abundance into being. Words of fear vibrate at the frequency of lack and call lack into being. Even science acknowledges that vibration affects matter, that sound waves create form. If sound can shape patterns in water or sand, how much more can your words shape the pattern of your destiny? Each phrase you utter imprints itself upon the unseen substance of life, and that substance reshapes itself to reflect what has been spoken. It is not enough to merely think abundance. It must be spoken. Thought is the seed, but speech is the water that causes it to grow. When thought and word combine, their creative power multiplies. Silent belief is powerful, but spoken belief sends forth a clarion call that cannot be ignored. Speak your vision aloud. Declare your abundance aloud. Give voice to your faith, for your voice carries authority not only in the physical world, but in the spiritual realm. The spoken word also has power because it reshapes the speaker. Each time you declare something, you reinforce it within your own mind. You convince yourself of it. You build faith in it. Repetition engraves truth into your being until what once felt like a fragile hope becomes an unshakable certainty. And certainty, born of repeated declaration, is the birthplace of manifestation. Consider those who rise from humble beginnings to extraordinary wealth. More often than not, their journey began with words, spoken not in arrogance, but in conviction. They declared what they would become long before any evidence supported them. They spoke of success while others saw only lack, and in time, the reality they declared became the reality they lived. The same power rests in every individual, for the law of the spoken word shows no partiality. It works for all who use it, whether in ignorance or in wisdom. But the law must be used consciously. To speak words of faith one moment and words of fear the next is like planting wheat one day and pulling it up the next. The harvest will be confusion and barrenness. Consistency is the key. The spoken word must be guarded, directed, and infused with intention. Idle words waste energy, negative words destroy it, but words of faith create it. The wise one learns to harness this power, speaking deliberately, affirming constantly, and refusing to let careless words escape their lips. The spoken word not only shapes the future, but transforms the present. When you declare, "I am wealthy now," even before wealth appears, you shift your vibration in this very moment. You begin to feel wealthier, to think wealthier, to act wealthier, and in acting wealthier, you attract wealth. This is not self-deception, it is self-creation. You are aligning your present self with your future reality, and that alignment collapses time, pulling your vision into the now. So never underestimate the power of your voice. Speak wealth, speak health, speak success, speak peace, for every time you speak, you are not merely describing life, you are designing it. Words are more than sounds, they are blueprints, they are decrees. They are commands that the universe obeys without question. And when spoken with faith, with authority, and with consistency, they shape a reality more glorious than anything chance could ever deliver. Imagination is the blueprint of wealth. Everything that exists in the world of form was first born in the unseen chamber of imagination. Every building that touches the skyline, every invention that has transformed humanity, every fortune that has been built, all began as an idea, a picture in the mind, a vision held before it became tangible. Wealth is never created from the outside in. It is always created from the inside out. The invisible precedes the visible, and imagination is the sacred workshop where invisible riches are designed before they manifest into physical reality. When you allow your imagination to picture abundance, you are sketching the framework of your future wealth. Just as an architect does not build a structure without a plan, no one can construct a prosperous life without a mental design. The blueprint must come first. Without it, effort is scattered, energy is wasted, and opportunities are missed. But with imagination, a clear, vibrant image of prosperity guides your thoughts, shapes your actions, and draws to you the resources needed to bring the vision into form. The clearer and more consistent the picture, the stronger the blueprint, and the faster the manifestation. The power of imagination lies in its ability to bypass current circumstances. You may be standing in lack, but in imagination you can dwell in wealth. You may have empty hands, yet in imagination you can see overflowing abundance. And as you hold that inner image with faith, the outer world begins to reorganize itself to reflect what is pictured within. Imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is the deliberate act of creation. What the mind pictures with intensity and emotion becomes impressed upon the subconscious, and the subconscious then works tirelessly to bring it to pass, aligning events, nudging intuition, and attracting the right conditions. Wealth must be imagined before it is experienced. Those who cannot see prosperity within cannot hold it without. If the inner vision is clouded with doubt, fear, or limitation, then no matter what opportunities appear, they will slip away, for the blueprint is incomplete. But when imagination paints pictures of confidence, freedom, generosity, and abundance, then those conditions begin to flow into life naturally. This is why vision boards, affirmations, and mental rehearsals are powerful. They give form to the formless, detail to the dream, structure to the unseen. Imagination also stirs desire, and desire is the fuel of creation. When you see yourself living in prosperity, your heart awakens to the possibility of it, and energy surges forth to make it real. You begin to act in harmony with the vision. You make different choices, speak different words, and carry yourself with a different presence. People respond to you differently, and opportunities seem to appear by coincidence, though in truth they are drawn by the magnet of your inner picture. The wealthy understand, whether consciously or unconsciously, that imagination governs wealth. They hold bold visions, see possibility where others see impossibility, and picture success when others picture failure. This is the secret. Imagination writes the blueprint, and reality follows the plan. If you wish to expand your wealth, expand your imagination. Dare to picture bigger, brighter, bolder futures. Dare to see yourself in possession of more than enough. Dare to create mental images of overflowing abundance, and the blueprint will summon the substance to match. Wealth is not an accident but a design, and the imagination is the master designer. Guard it, feed it, cultivate it, and let it draw for you the life that matches your highest vision. For as surely as the seed contains the tree, your imagination contains your fortune, waiting only for your faith and persistence to bring it into form. Fear and doubt are wealth blockers. They are the invisible thieves that rob people of the prosperity that is rightfully theirs. They are not mere emotions or passing feelings. They are powerful vibrations that create resistance against the flow of abundance. Fear and doubt cloud the mind, weaken faith, and block the very channels through which wealth is meant to arrive. One may work tirelessly, speak affirmations, and even visualize prosperity, but if fear and doubt dominate the inner life, then wealth cannot flow freely. They act like a wall built across a river. No matter how much water wants to move, it cannot pass until the obstruction is removed. Fear and doubt begin subtly. They whisper lies into the mind, saying, "What if it doesn't work? What if you fail? What if you are not worthy? What if there is not enough?" And each time these whispers are entertained, they grow stronger, planting roots in the subconscious. Soon, they begin to shape the individual's actions. Opportunities are ignored, risks are avoided, and the doors to abundance are left unopened because fear insists it is safer to remain where one is. Doubt questions every possibility until the vision fades and the dream is abandoned. What could have been a life of wealth and freedom becomes a life of limitation, not because the law of abundance failed, but because fear and doubt blocked its operation. Fear is a distortion of faith. Where faith expects the best, fear expects the worst. Both are creative, both attract what they focus on, but they draw opposite outcomes. Fear magnetizes lack, struggle, and loss, just as surely as faith magnetizes wealth, success, and opportunity. Doubt is just as destructive, for it wavers between belief and disbelief. It is like planting a seed and then uprooting it every few days to check if it is growing. Growth requires stability, and manifestation requires unwavering belief. When doubt dominates, the roots of wealth cannot take hold, and the harvest never comes. Many fail to recognize how fear and doubt disguise themselves as logic and caution. They whisper, "Be realistic, don't aim too high, don't expect too much." These words sound reasonable, but in truth they are chains that bind the imagination and keep it small. Wealth requires boldness, vision, and trust in unseen possibilities. Those who allow fear and doubt to govern their choices remain trapped in circles of mediocrity, never discovering the treasures that awaited them just beyond the boundary of their comfort. To overcome fear and doubt, one must replace them with their opposites, faith and expectancy. The mind cannot hold two opposing forces at once. If fear says, "What if it fails?" faith declares, What if it succeeds beyond measure? If doubt says, you cannot, expectancy answers, all things are possible. Each time fear and doubt arise, they must be met with words of truth and affirmations of abundance. Over time, the vibration shifts, the inner resistance dissolves, and the channels of wealth open wide. Fear and doubt have no real power of their own. They are shadows, illusions that grow only when attention is given to them. The moment one turns away from fear and places full focus on faith, fear begins to dissolve. The moment one chooses expectancy instead of doubt, the current of wealth begins to flow. Prosperity is not held by the universe, it is only held by the barriers of disbelief built within the mind. Remove the barriers and wealth comes rushing in. When fear and doubt are conquered, a new freedom emerges. Decisions are made with boldness, opportunities are seized with confidence, and actions are taken without hesitation. Wealth responds to this energy, for wealth is drawn to certainty. The person who knows, who expects, who believes, becomes magnetic. Fear and doubt block wealth, but faith and trust unlock it, releasing streams of abundance that flow without hindrance into every area of life. Generosity multiplies wealth. It is one of the most profound truths of life, yet it is often misunderstood by those who clutch tightly to what they have, believing that giving diminishes their supply. In reality, the act of giving opens the floodgates of abundance, allowing wealth to flow in greater measure than before. Generosity is not the loss of something, it is the sowing of seed into the soil of the universe. Just as the farmer who releases grain into the ground does not mourn the loss, but anticipates the harvest, so too the generous soul gives with expectancy, knowing that every act of giving plants the seeds of multiplied return. The universe operates by rhythm and circulation. The breath must go out in order for new air to come in. Rivers must flow or they stagnate. Blood must circulate in the body or life ceases. Wealth, too, must move. When it is hoarded, grasped, and clung to in fear, it loses its vitality. But when it flows outward through acts of generosity, it returns in greater volume, replenished, expanded, and alive with new energy. Giving is not subtraction, it is multiplication in disguise. What you release is never lost. It circles back with increase, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Generosity is not measured merely by the size of the gift, but by the spirit in which it is given. A small gift offered with love, joy, and faith carries more creative power than a large gift offered with reluctance or resentment. The vibration of the heart accompanies the gift, and that vibration determines the harvest. When you give freely without fear of depletion, you declare to the universe, I am abundant, I am supplied, I am not afraid of lack. That declaration is magnetic, attracting greater opportunities for wealth to flow back into your life. But when you give grudgingly or refuse to give at all, you affirm scarcity, and scarcity answers you in kind. Generosity also breaks the chains of fear and selfishness that keep many imprisoned in cycles of lack. Fear says, if I give, I will have less. Generosity declares, the more I give, the more I receive. Fear clings to what it has, believing supply is limited. Generosity knows supply is infinite, that the source of wealth is unending, and that no act of giving can ever diminish one's true storehouse. By giving, you train the subconscious mind to trust in abundance rather than in scarcity. You prove to yourself that you are not dependent upon limited resources, but connected to an infinite flow. Every great fortune has been built not merely by what was received, but by what was given. The wealthy who remain wealthy are those who keep wealth circulating, through philanthropy, through service, through creating opportunities for others. They understand that money is like water. It must flow to remain alive. The more channels it flows through, the greater its power. Generosity creates channels. Each act of giving digs a new riverbed through which prosperity can return. The one who gives to uplift others, to support causes of truth, to bless those in need, is digging wide and deep channels, and through those channels, multiplied wealth rushes back in. Generosity also aligns the giver with divine law, for the law of sowing and reaping cannot be broken. Just as surely as a seed planted in the earth produces a harvest, a gift planted into the lives of others produces increase. The timing may vary, the form may differ, but the law guarantees return. What is sown in kindness reaps kindness. What is sown in faith reaps blessing. What is sown in generosity reaps wealth. It is not always immediate, but it is always certain. To withhold is to choke the flow. Imagine a hand clenched tightly around a coin. While the coin is not lost, neither can anything greater be placed into that hand until it opens. Generosity opens the hand, and in opening, it allows room for more. The open hand is a symbol of trust, of expectancy, of readiness to receive. And the universe delights to fill what is open. The clenched fist may preserve a little, but it shuts out increase. The open hand releases a little, but it welcomes abundance. Generosity is also creative because it changes the consciousness of the giver. When you give, you rise above fear, above limitation, above selfishness. You step into the identity of an abundant being, one who has more than enough to share. That identity then shapes your reality. As you see yourself as generous, you also see yourself as prosperous, and prosperity responds to that vision. The poor in spirit cling tightly, seeing only lack. The prosperous in spirit release freely, seeing only increase. And the inner picture always becomes the outer experience. Furthermore, generosity creates a ripple effect that multiplies far beyond the initial act. A gift given in love may inspire another to give, and another, creating a chain of blessing that touches countless lives. The giver may never know how far the ripple travels, but the law ensures that the wave of blessing eventually circles back. Wealth multiplies not only in the life of the giver, but in the lives of all who are touched by the gift, expanding prosperity throughout the community and beyond. Some may argue that giving diminishes their store, that it is unwise to release what one has when there is so much need. But this thinking forgets that the universe is inexhaustible. The supply is infinite. The very act of giving affirms and proves that truth. Each time you give, you are saying, I trust in the abundance of life. I believe there is more than enough. I live in a universe that supplies all my needs. That faith magnetizes supply, and supply rushes in to meet expectation. To live generously is to live in harmony with the laws of abundance. The miser may preserve his gold for a time, but eventually it stagnates, and his life grows small and fearful. The generous may release their wealth, but in releasing, they discover that they are never without, that more always comes, and that the joy of giving multiplies their riches in ways money alone cannot measure. Generosity multiplies not only material wealth, but wealth of spirit, wealth of relationships, wealth of joy. It enriches life on every level, and that richness in turn attracts even greater prosperity. So let generosity be your way of life. Give not in fear but in faith. Give not to impress but to bless. Give not to lose but to multiply. For each act of generosity writes a new chapter in the story of your wealth, expanding your capacity to receive, enlarging your channels of supply, and aligning you with the eternal truth that wealth is not diminished by giving but multiplied through it. And as you live this truth, you will discover that your storehouse never runs dry, for the law has decreed it. Generosity multiplies wealth. Divine timing governs the flow of wealth. Wealth does not always appear the moment it is desired, nor does it always arrive by the methods we expect. There is a higher order, a perfect orchestration, that arranges the unfolding of prosperity in a way that ensures it comes at the right time, in the right way, and in the right measure. This divine timing is not delay, nor is it denial, it is preparation. It ensures that when wealth arrives, you are ready to receive it, to hold it, and to use it wisely. For what good would it be to inherit abundance before your spirit is trained to manage it? What benefit would it be to gain riches if fear, doubt, or misalignment would cause them to slip away? Divine timing protects you, not deprives you, by aligning the gift with your readiness. Many grow restless when their prayers for wealth seem unanswered. They ask, "Why has nothing changed?" Yet unseen forces are already at work, weaving together circumstances, guiding people into your path, and preparing opportunities beyond what you could arrange alone. Just as a seed does not sprout the day after it is planted, but only after it has germinated in the dark and hidden soil, wealth too often grows silently before it shows visibly. Trust in the law of growth, for the harvest comes not by frantic digging, but by patient expectancy. Divine timing also prevents premature manifestation, which can be as destructive as lack. A fortune gained too soon can be squandered. An opportunity seized too early can collapse. A door opened before its season can lead to frustration. Timing ensures that the soil of your mind is cultivated, your faith matured, your discipline strengthened, so that when the increase arrives, it will remain and multiply. The delay is not punishment, but divine alignment, ensuring you are not only a receiver of wealth, but a faithful steward of it. Patience, then, is a vital partner in the wealth journey. Impatience signals distrust, and distrust blocks the flow, but patience rooted in faith creates a magnetic calm, a knowing that wealth is on its way even if unseen. This expectancy draws prosperity more swiftly than worry ever could. The universe responds not to anxious grasping, but to confident waiting. Just as the tide returns faithfully to the shore, so wealth returns faithfully to those who trust the rhythm of divine timing. Therefore, do not despise the waiting season. Do not interpret silence as absence or delay as denial. Every moment is preparation. Every day brings you closer. Every seeming obstacle is shaping you for the greater blessing. When wealth appears, it will be clear why it could not have come a day sooner or a day later. Divine timing governs the flow, and in that perfect order, you will find not only the wealth you seek, but the wisdom, strength, and joy to carry it well. Intuition is the inner compass to wealth opportunities. It is the quiet voice within that whispers before logic speaks, the gentle nudge that directs you toward doors you might otherwise overlook. Unlike fear or doubt, which speak loudly and urgently, intuition carries a calm authority. It does not argue or demand, it simply guides. Those who cultivate the ability to listen to intuition discover that wealth is not merely a product of effort or planning, but of divine guidance received and followed. Logic may calculate, but intuition perceives the unseen. Where the mind sees only obstacles, intuition senses hidden possibilities. Where others see closed doors, intuition points out a window left ajar. Wealth opportunities are not always dressed in obvious form. Sometimes they appear disguised as small beginnings, chance encounters, or subtle ideas. Without intuition, these moments may pass unnoticed. Yet intuition highlights them, stirring a feeling that says, "Pay attention, there is something here." This is not guesswork or luck. It is alignment with a deeper intelligence that sees beyond time and circumstance. Intuition connects you with the infinite supply of wisdom, ensuring you are always in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, and acting in the right way to prosper. Those who ignore intuition often chase after wealth with great effort but little result. They exhaust themselves pursuing paths that lead nowhere, while opportunities slip by unnoticed. Yet those who trust intuition move with less struggle and more flow. They sense when to act and when to wait, when to hold on and when to release, when to invest and when to step back. Intuition removes the guesswork and aligns decisions with divine timing. This inner compass ensures that wealth does not come through strain, but through grace-guided action. Developing trust in intuition requires stillness. A restless, fearful mind cannot hear the whisper of guidance. But when one learns to quiet the noise of doubt and tune into the inner voice, clarity emerges. Intuition often speaks through sudden ideas, gut feelings, or repeated impressions. It may not explain the full picture, but it gives just enough light to take the next step. And when that step is taken in faith, the next one becomes clear. In this way, intuition leads step by step into greater wealth. Wealth flows toward those who honor intuition because intuition always guides toward expansion, not limitation. It does not lead to loss, for its source is divine wisdom. It does not mislead, for it operates in truth. To follow intuition is to walk a path of alignment with opportunity. To ignore it is to risk missing the very guidance that could transform everything. The inner compass is always present, always ready, always pointing toward abundance. Those who listen and act upon it discover that wealth is not distant, but ever near, waiting to be claimed by the ones who trust the voice within. Obedience to inspired action completes the formula. Wealth is not manifested by thought alone, nor by affirmations repeated without movement. The divine law always requires action, but not action born of fear, desperation, or struggle action that is inspired. Inspired action comes from the higher prompting of the spirit, a nudge that says, "Do this now," even when it may not seem logical to the mind. It may be a sudden idea, a call to reach out to someone, the urge to pursue an opportunity, or the quiet conviction to step into something new. These impulses are not random. They are the bridge between the unseen realm of faith and the visible realm of manifestation. Too many wait endlessly, declaring abundance yet refusing to move when guidance comes. They pray for wealth, they affirm prosperity, but when the door opens, they hesitate. Fear whispers, "What if it doesn't work?" Doubt asks, "Are you sure?" And hesitation causes the moment to pass. Formula for wealth is incomplete without obedience, for inspiration without action is like a seed never planted. The soil may be fertile, the rain may fall, the sun may shine, but without the planting, there is no harvest. Likewise, wealth cannot flow fully until action is taken in alignment with divine prompting. Obedience to inspired action requires trust. Often the steps do not reveal the whole journey. The instruction may seem small or insignificant, but obedience in the small things leads to greater things. The action may not make sense to reason, but wealth is not built on reason alone. It is built on trust in a higher wisdom that sees beyond the limited view. One act of obedience can open a floodgate of opportunities, connecting you with people, resources, and circumstances you could never have orchestrated by yourself. The universe favors the bold who move when called. When inspired action is obeyed, it signals readiness, faith, and alignment. It tells the law of abundance, "I trust, I move, I believe." This energy magnetizes provision, accelerates manifestation, and draws wealth swiftly. On the other hand, disobedience to inspired nudges creates delay, not because wealth is withheld, but because the bridge was never crossed. The law waits, patient but firm, until obedience completes the formula. True wealth builders know that intuition without action is wasted, and faith without works is dead. They understand that inspired action may be uncomfortable, may stretch the limits of courage, but always leads to increase. Each act of obedience builds momentum, strengthens faith, and expands capacity. Eventually, obedience becomes a lifestyle, and wealth flows naturally, for nothing is blocking the divine current. Obedience to inspired action is not about striving harder. It is about moving in sync with divine rhythm. It is the final step that transforms visions into realities, affirmations into experiences, faith into substance. Those who hear and act are those who prosper, for wealth does not belong to the dreamers alone, but to the doers who act when inspiration calls, completing the formula that unlocks abundance. The formula is eternal and universal. Wealth is not a mystery reserved for a select few, nor is it a privilege granted by chance or luck. It is governed by principles that are as ancient as creation itself, principles that never change and never fail. Just as gravity pulls everything to the ground without preference, the laws that govern wealth operate with impartial certainty. They respond to faith, vision, gratitude, generosity, obedience, and alignment with divine order. Those who learn these laws and live in harmony with them inevitably see the results because the formula works for anyone, anywhere, at any time. It is eternal because it existed before you were born and will continue long after you are gone. It is woven into the fabric of life itself. Every civilization that rose to greatness tapped into these principles, whether they understood them consciously or not. Kings, inventors, philosophers, builders, and leaders who shaped history all drew upon this eternal formula by aligning thought, word, imagination, and action with divine law. The results they achieved were not accidents. They were manifestations of an eternal pattern that repeats itself through every age. It is universal because it applies to all people regardless of culture, background, or circumstance. The formula does not discriminate between rich or poor, educated or uneducated, believer or skeptic. Just as the sun shines on all and the rain falls on all, the laws of wealth are available to all who align with them. If one sows seeds in good soil, the harvest comes. This is as true in the East as in the West, as true for one generation as it is for another. The formula bends to no one, but everyone may bend to it, and in doing so, tap into its power. When people say wealth is unfair, it is not the formula that fails but the alignment with it. Those who ignore the laws of faith and persistence, who allow fear and doubt to choke their vision, who refuse generosity or neglect obedience to inspired action, will naturally see limited results. Yet those who live by the formula consistently attract opportunities, resources, and favor, because they are moving in harmony with a system designed to multiply abundance. The beauty of this eternal and universal formula is that it cannot be exhausted. One person's prosperity does not diminish another's, for the source of wealth is infinite. The formula does not depend on competition, but on alignment, not on taking, but on creating, not on hoarding, but on circulating. It ensures that the more you give, the more you receive, the more you trust, the more you attract, the more you envision, the more you manifest. To grasp this truth is to realize that wealth is not uncertain, nor is it elusive. It is certain, fixed, and sure, governed by eternal and universal laws that never fail. Those who align with them prosper, those who resist them struggle, but the formula itself remains unchanged, waiting patiently for all who are ready to apply it and reap the harvest it guarantees.